Welcome to Talking New York Real Estate with Vince Rocco. Our show is all about the exciting world of real estate and in particular, how it relates to the luxury New York marketplace. But if you are not planning a real estate transaction in New York, we still have plenty of information you can use no matter where you are. Now, here's our show.
Good morning, everyone. In real estate, momentum is a powerful force that drives success, allowing agents and investors to push through challenges and seize opportunities with confidence. To reignite your flow, it's essential to tap into your intrinsic motivation and renew your focus on your goals. Building your momentum menu means developing a personalized system that works for you. Whether it's setting daily goals, finding time for personal growth, or keeping track of your achievements. Once you find your natural rhythm by balancing work and self-care, organizing your schedule, and staying connected with clients or potential leads, you'll find that progress becomes easier and more consistent. Lastly, making every week memorable involves setting intentions at the start of each week, celebrating small wins, and continuously learning. By cultivating momentum, you ensure that each step forward brings you closer to long-term success in real estate. And at the table with me today are Molly Townsend from Molly B. Townsend Consulting, June Gottlieb from Coldwell Banker Warburg, and Stephen Gottlieb, also from Coldwell Banker Warburg. And they join me now to discuss. But first, let me welcome my listeners and viewers from across the United States and all around the globe. I am Vince Rocco, and this is Talking New York Real Estate. So let's go behind the headlines and inside real estate, the state of our industry.
Hi, it's Stephen Bailey from Roadway Moving and Storage. Listening to Vince Rocco, you know the right partner makes all the difference. At Roadway, we deliver an experience your clients will love. For specialized services and white glove care, choose Roadway. Want to learn more? Email me at stephen@roadwaymoving.com or visit roadwaymoving.com.
Okay, everybody, we are back. So I'm really excited about this show today because, well, I like a lot of shows, but this episode in particular because we're talking about momentum. Momentum is everything in life, not necessarily just in a real estate job, as we all here are involved in, but in all aspects of our personal life and any other industry that you might work in. There are challenges that we need to overcome, sometimes on a day-to-day basis, and sometimes they keep coming back. But, it's our focus and our mindset and how we grow personally to enable us to deal with those challenges that we face and move forward. Natural rhythm, we're going to talk a lot about that. That one caught my eye. The flow of our life, the flow of our conversation, the flow of how we work our week. And as I always say, and I said last week, if you can't be memorable, what's the point? I start my day and I end my day and end my week every week with being memorable. You need to be that way, and we'll talk about why it's important as we go through. Molly, good to see you again. Molly Townsend. So let me start with you. So you wrote a brilliant newsletter, I don't know, a month or so ago that I read and said, oops, we got to talk about that on the show because it makes a lot of sense to me and to other real estate agents that I work with. Tell us a little bit about, in broad terms, and then we'll break it out, a little bit about what, or why you put importance on momentum in our professional life.
I think because momentum is really your control of your rhythm, right? So we don't have control over a lot of things in this business. We don't have control over the market. We don't really have control over our clients, though we like to think that we do, right?
Correct. We know.
And, of the things that you can control, mindset and your momentum are two very important things, right? So, we can say you have to have an abundance mindset in order to attract abundance, attract people, attract wealth. And you have to be a master of your own momentum in order to really transact. It's the transaction, the process. As you said, there's the marketing leading up to the negotiation, leading up to the actual transacting. That is all part of a process of momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be in motion already to really succeed in that.
And it's all about attitude. When your momentum is on target and your flow is on target, your attitude, I would believe, is much better. So it's really all about attitude, and we all know, the difference between a positive attitude and an attitude that is really in the whatever house. Not good, doesn't work. But before we get even more into it, let me ask my expert real estate agents here, Stephen and June Gottlieb, about the marketplace today, because I think what June touched on a little while ago, we have to negotiate and navigate through good markets, bad markets, flat markets, and all of that affects our mind flow, our mindset, our attitude. In good days, we run with the chickens and we're all over the place and we're closing deals and signing contracts. It's a wonderful market. In days like, the past 2 years, it really has not been so great. June, in your opinion, where are we today based on my thinking? The past 2 years has not been really great.
I'm going to use a term that Stephen Gottlieb used the other day, which is we are now, in my opinion and in his opinion, in a broker's market. The market in fourth quarter was really flat. I think people were just really exhausted by what happened in the election. Interest rates were still high. We had wars going on. I just think it was very difficult for people to move forward. I think they were just paralyzed in some way, and rightfully so. I think they were just emotionally exhausted. What I'm seeing now is that we do have buyers coming in. I still think we're in a buyer's market. I think buyers, because they have so much information, they know what they want and what they want and don't want to do. We're in a strange market, one that's unusual versus, I've been doing this for 35 years, so I have seen a lot of market changes. This is an interesting market because we have very little inventory, and yet we're not getting these super duper high prices. Market is not rocketing upward price-wise. I do think that's attributable to interest rates, high interest rates that I don't think are coming down anytime soon.
I agree.
Yeah.
And just to touch upon the idea of the broker's market, it's sort of like it's not really a buyer's market. It's not really a seller's market in that depending on the deal in terms of leverage, sometimes it just takes really good agents, the brokers of the deal, to make it happen because all of the leverage isn't on one side or the other like you would find in a typical buyer's market or you would find in a typical seller's market.
But as you guys have indicated, maybe changes in the works and maybe things are changing. I don't do a lot of rentals, but last night I had a rental open house listing I just put up on Friday. And if I tell you at a condo that I sell all the time, and if I told you the amount of emails, phone calls, and text messages I got from Friday to Monday morning, I left, at 65, I think, and I'm thinking, okay, what kind of market are we in now? Where are we? And that's why I got to ask these guys tomorrow. Point there, and then last night at open house, I had about 25 people coming in. And the doorman looked at me and he said, because I'm always complaining to the doorman in this particular building, he said, well, I guess we're back, aren't we? I said, well, let's hope so. What does that translate to? Maybe that's momentum. Maybe the buyers or the renters out there today are saying, enough. I understand where we were. I understand where, we maybe still are, but I have to do something. And I have to move forward. And I have to either buy something or rent something, because if I don't, it might get worse.
I think you've touched upon a couple different points, and I can first say my opinion about the rental market. I think that you've got a lot of people who are willing to pay a lot of money for flexibility, and they are willing to possibly, the rental market's still very expensive, and they are willing to pay those prices in order to keep a lot of cash on hand that might have been used for a down payment, either to invest in something else, which is often the case, or to sort of take another year of let's see what happens with the market before we make a bigger commitment to home ownership.
But that let's see kind of attitude sometimes gets in the way of a buyer or a renter moving forward, because what tends to happen sometimes is let's wait and see. And a year from now, the prices are higher. Or there's no inventory at all to pick through.
Well,
right?
You do have the classic 20/20 hindsight, of course, and everybody who tries to time the market perfectly never does. That's sort of classic real estate mistake 101.
Listen out there, it's true.
I also think that now, I think New Yorkers are not good with not getting instant gratification. They're just not good at that. So I think, given that they were waiting on the sidelines, waiting, many more of them are saying, okay, it's time to jump in. And jumping in now, if you're buying, is a really good thing because prices are or I shouldn't say depressed, but they are certainly discounted. The rental market is still on steroids, in my opinion, which is why you've had 65 people jumping in all over the place. And I do think what I would love to know from you is, what segment of the market were these people in? Were these people who were at the beginning of their adult life? Were they empty nesters who have just sold their house? They're not sure what they want to do. They don't know how much space they need, so they just want to be in a holding pattern, as Stephen said, to retain their flexibility?
It's a very good question. And the answer to that is they're at the beginning of their young adult life, as you call it. And I agree. And it's a one bedroom. So you're going to get people who are renting for the first time, a one bedroom, or people who are leaving one rental, which I saw a lot of yesterday for whatever reason, different neighborhoods too, which is interesting, and moving into a new one bedroom. So it would be a second or third rental opportunity. But what I was hearing last night was they're coming from, the East Village to Hell's Kitchen. I thought that was like, wow, okay.
But maybe
And that was job related.
Oh, it was job related,
Because
not
they wanted
what
to
they
walk
can
to Midtown.
afford.
No.
Sometimes people will
Oh, absolutely.
in terms of their laundry list of specs, they'll say, okay, I'll give up on my first choice of location just because I can get more space, or I can get more space at a better price. And guess what? I could walk to work too. Like they're rethinking just because the prices are so. I don't want to say insane, but they're really, really very aggressive in the rental. Okay, you said it.
Insane,
in the
crazy.
rental
Steroids,
market.
I like that.
Yeah,
totally.
And Vince, I hesitate to bring up any other podcast while I am a guest on this podcast.
Excuse me.
However,
No, I know where he's going to go. Probably.
I did hear something on a Wall Street Journal podcast this morning. I don't know if it published today or yesterday, but just talking about just talking about inflation and the effects of inflation on different segments of the population, and how we keep hearing about how difficult life is in terms of how everything has gotten more expensive over the years. But for the upper echelons of the socioeconomic of socioeconomic classes, if you will, they're not feeling it. And okay, so groceries are a little bit more expensive. We still want organic, and we can afford it, and we're willing to pay it. So are a lot of people in the country feeling the squeeze and feeling that their paycheck is not going as far as it used to? Of course. But when you're talking about New York City, it's expensive to just be here. So you're already talking about a high earning population. So we're finding, I guess, in the sales market that the luxury market is still pretty healthy, and then in the rental market is still really expensive because people are willing to pay those prices.
But I think prices, if I may jump in, are
Absolutely.
different than your monthly cash flow. Because interest rates are higher, your money's not going as far. And I do think that is impacting our inventory levels. Think about people who have no mortgage or a mortgage at 2 or 3%. They're not moving now, because if they move, they're now going to get back into a mortgage market that has a 6 or any 6+%, anywhere from 5 to 7% interest rate. And so they're saying, okay, well, why should I do that? So I'm going to stay put. I'm going to make some changes in my apartment. They're doing like minor renovations. That they're staying put, which is why we don't have a lot of inventory.
100%. Stephen, while I still have you on mic, I was going to bring it up later, but you are a prolific writer. Tell us about your writing, where it's published, and I called on him a couple of times in the past to come on the show to talk about the articles that he's written, because they're really good and they're real estate related. Tell us.
All right, well, thank you for the plug, Vince Rocco. So I have a somewhat regular column at U.S. News and World Report. I've been writing for them since 2019. I'm actually in talks with the editors now to discuss what my next topic should be.
Podcast.
Right, podcasting. I've written about everything from sort of the unglamorous, gritty side of being a real estate agent when the job is portrayed as so glamorous on reality television or whatever. Thank you for inviting me onto the show for that. I've also written about the best house plants and how to create an office in your home during the pandemic when we all needed more space. So it really runs the gamut from puff pieces and softer topics versus things that are a little bit more I guess, nuts and bolts and gritty.
But all relevant, right? Because they're the
I hope so.
there's the fluffy part of our job,
Right.
the gritty part of our job, the stressful part of our job. One of the things I actually like most about working in real estate, and I've done a few other things before real estate, is you don't know what your day is going to produce.
Yes.
Every day is different. It could be gritty. It could be fun. It could
the
be
best part.
exasperating. It could be a whole bunch of things.
That's the answer to the question, why do we love our jobs?
Right.
Why do we
Right.
love what
Well,
we
there
do?
you have it. That's the truth.
Yeah, it's
That's the
because
truth.
no 2 days are the same. What I do find, though, is when you transact a lot of business, which we have all done over the years because we've done a lot of transactions, you learn something new from every deal so that when that problem comes up again, you know how to handle it. At this point, been there, done that. I can handle it all. Great. But what's wonderful is because when that little thing comes up in that part of the day, it's like, okay, get that done more quickly, efficiently, and then on to the next thing, which I guess we'll get into on that momentum and flow.
Which reminds me, so Molly, what strategies do you find are most effective in reigniting your motivation, whether you're a real estate agent or work in any, profession? We sometimes get demotivated based on market conditions, based on a whole bunch of things. So what strategies do you put in place or tell people that are going to work for them in challenging moments in their work life, and in this particular case, in real estate, which we can always be, day by day, up or down or whatever, flat?
I'm interested in relating this back to this idea of being in a broker's market right now, because I think that what's so interesting about being in a low inventory market is you have to manufacture not urgency, because we all know it's impossible to manufacture urgency, but you have to create the momentum,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's so interesting you talking about your renters open house last night, and you even saying, "Is this something?
I couldn't get over it.
Are people back? Are they excited?" Even just that narrative and sharing that narrative on your show creates some momentum, right? It creates the perception that everyone
So
is
a good strategy.
a great strategy.
Okay,
Vince.
there you go.
So there's a little bit of fake it till you make it. I hate that expression. I'm actually
but,
sorry that I said that.
It does make sense.
But there's, you in creating momentum, you're creating confidence, you're creating the reality that you want to step into.
And talk about, the momentum of it all and last night's open house. Sorry to bring it up again, but because every time I came out of the apartment and came back into the lobby, the doorman looked at me like, there's more. And the momentum was like, and the hustle was like crazy. And I can see on people's faces, wow, this is going to be gone before the night is over. Do I even have a chance? And it brings me back to 2018 and 19, where that was happening, on a regular routine basis. And now I'm thinking last night, and I'm thinking about the show, wow, how can I bring this into or incorporate this into the show tomorrow? Because it was something to be seen. I hadn't seen it in years.
Yeah.
Well, I think that also
It was a rental, but still.
I think that in 2021, after the vaccine rollout was deemed successful and everybody sort of came back to the city immediately, we had bidding wars for, I was doing a rental for somebody, I want to say it was like a $19,000 rental, which is not cheap. And we lost a bidding war to someone.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
No, it's very true. All right, we have to take a quick break. We're coming right back. No one's going anywhere. This is Talking New York Real Estate on the More Network. We're going to talk about refocus and personal growth. Don't go anywhere.
The Everset provides full-service staging and furniture rental solutions in the New York area. For more information, please visit us at staging.theeverset.com or email us at staging@theeverset.com to request a free proposal.
Okay, everybody, we are back. So, Stephen, I wanted to ask you, though, in kind of figuring out market strategies, as we talked about in motivating or momentum, whatever, how do you refocus your energy sometimes when you feel like you're losing momentum based on a market challenge, based on a tough conversation with a client, based on, an open house, for example, which we've all had where no one shows up or one person shows up? How do you refocus that energy, as we talked about at the top of the show, where, energy and good positive energy is really necessary in order for us to keep our flow moving?
So June and I have different perspectives on what I'm about to say, even though we work together.
Yes, we do.
Isn't that something?
Do you know where I'm going with this?
Go
I don't
ahead.
think you know where I'm going with this.
Go.
So June was just saying that she actually gets more done working from home. And I don't know if I've ever tested it out, but I feel like I get more done if I go to the office.
I agree, yeah.
And a lot of the time, I am the last one in the office, and the cleaning crews have come in, and the lights are starting to go off.
Wow.
But I find that as sort of, maybe I'm just playing a trick on myself. If I put on a button-down shirt and if I get dressed and showered and out the door,
Hey.
even if it feels like I'm getting more done, it feels like I am sort of tricking my mind into feeling more motivated. If I spend the day at home, working from home, maybe I do get more done, but it doesn't feel that way.
So a button-down shirt does it, huh? I don't wear button-down shirts lately. I don't like them.
But there's that book,
tell me,
Make Your Bed,
Oh,
so you
yes.
feel like you accomplished something
Right.
that day.
well, you tell me, from your perspective, June, why do you feel working from home? Because I tend to agree with Stephen in that, yes, I can be motivated at home. Yes, I can work at home, which I do a lot. But when I go to the office, it's almost like, wow, I'm here, I'm on, I'm ready, whatever, ready is. Working from home for you, what does it do? How does it inspire you to keep that focus forward?
I don't think that it's the working from home that keeps me inspired and focused, but I will say, let me just talk about working from home. When I'm in the office, I am very distracted because people are saying, oh, hi, how are you? I mean, there's all this conversation back and forth, which is wonderful.
It's very social,
At
right.
Warburg, we happen to have a lot of camaraderie in our office, and to me, that's distracting. I cannot focus as much. There are just things that, in other words, if I
You're
make
likable. People want to come and say hello.
Oh, you're so sweet. But I make a project list every night so that I can sleep better. I don't have things on my mind. I just know if I have it written down, then I know the next morning I can hit the decks running.
Yeah.
I find that when I go to the office, that project list gets a little derailed because, I want to fix something on my phone. Let me go talk to the IT guy. Let me do this. It's just not, I'm not as focused, and I can't be as focused as I am, checking things off on my project list.
So solitude works.
Solitude for me totally works
agree
because
with
there's
that.
nobody else, there's no outside influence
no,
impacting my ability to get my job done.
I'm kind of, I agreed with him, but I'm kind of split now after you explain that, because I do realize, though, when I am home, I can focus
Right.
more because I'm not worrying about someone who just came to say hello, because I can be very social and I'll put the pen down and say, oh, hi, how are
Exactly.
you? What's going on? Whatever, right?
So
it's
one
hard.
but one of the other things to me, and it's the first thing I teach anybody who comes onto our team to work with us, you need to make it easy for people to do business with you.
Right.
You need to be a comrade to the rest of our community is our community. That's the most important thing. So when I'm in the office, I can't say, don't bother me, please. I'm in the middle of writing a document or a this or a that. You're just interrupted and distracted. I am anyway all day long when I'm in the office. But I know that we need to do that because we are part of a community that matters to us.
Absolutely. And so, Molly, along with refocus and mindset, how does mindset play a role in the flow, in what I like to call our continuous flow moving forward? Flow can go in the reverse direction, which we don't want it to, but moving forward. And how do we cultivate that and make it a real good, positive one daily? Whether you're working from home, working in the office, me split between whatever. How do we do that? Flow is important.
Flow is everything.
And mindset.
There's actually something called behavioral momentum theory, which is, of course, based on Newton's first law of motion. So things in motion tend to stay in motion. And it's so interesting to hear your different perspectives on The Office, because I think, at a base level, it starts with self-awareness. You know that putting on the button-up shirt puts you in a certain mindset, right?
You gotta get into
You
turtleneck.
know that your master to-do list is everything, that you go to sleep knowing that you've documented everything that you have to do, and you want to hit it right when you're done with your whatever your morning routine is, right? And so the camaraderie, the chit chat, all of that office stuff is going to disrupt that for you. So, for a lot of people, it takes them a long time to figure out what works for them. And they're greatly influenced by others. The office, I feel like, is a tricky one, right? Because it became largely political during the pandemic. Like you're either an office person or you're not an office person, and it's right. And at this day and age, it should be, especially for independent contractors, like something that is a great resource for when you need it, and something that you don't necessarily need to service your clients.
But it's interesting you used the pandemic and quarantine. Before COVID and quarantine, whatever, I was an office person regularly every day. Whether I had a show or not, in and out, I'd be in and out of my office all day long. In, out, whatever. But always started in the office and ended in the office, right? And sometimes when the cleaning people were pushing the mops around or whatever at night. Post-pandemic, it's like I probably didn't go back to my office for almost a year.
Yeah.
Only because I think we got used to, that was in, 21, because we got used to working from home. And so since then, of course, I do a combination of both, but I really stayed away from the office, not because I was afraid of COVID or getting infected or whatever, just because it became natural. So you also mentioned in the piece that you wrote, momentum menu, and I loved that.
Yeah.
I loved the momentum menu. Explain that to us and why we can incorporate a menu like that and be more successful.
Sure. Again, it's about self-awareness and knowing where you find momentum. Usually you're finding momentum in the things that you actually enjoy, as basic as that seems, right? So for, I would say, the majority of agents that I speak to, the momentum is in the joy of building relationships, right? That's where they feel most alive and creating that forward energy. I would say the opposite of that is maybe doing paperwork or
Which
running.
everybody hates.
Running comps seems to be a big energy suck for
all day
for a lot of agents. And knowing when you're naturally most energetic throughout the day, right? So taking advantage of your morning hour. For me, I'm a morning person, so I know.
Come work with us.
My peak hours are
great, right?
My peak hours are from 7 to 10.
Mine too.
And then I start to peter off for a little bit at 11. And then, so I'm going to utilize my peak hours for the highest, best use of me, which is that relationship building. Even if I have comps to run, even if I have paperwork to do, even if I have the minutia of every day, and it seems urgent, and maybe June, it's high up on my list of things to do, I am going to actually stop myself, put that in my afternoon hour, because that's when my energy is waning, and that's not utilizing the highest, best use of me.
So could I ask you a question about this? If you could get 5 easy things done in that 7 to 10 a.m. period versus writing a document that's tricky, but you need to do it. I mean, let's say you do a news. I mean, let's say you do anything that really needs focus and it's harder to do. Do you think during your peak hours you should be getting those 5 easy things just knocked off because you got 5 things done, or that you should really tackle that longer term thing or that more difficult thing to do during your peak hours versus your non-peak working flow
Good question.
hours?
Very good question. I think it depends on why that thing is hard for you, right? So if it's writing, I do a lot of writing myself, and you know this, Stephen, like if you're having writer's block or you're stuck on something, then to me, those peak hours it's just that you don't feel like running comps, then
That you do at 2:00 in the afternoon.
that you do at 2:00 in the
Yeah, right.
afternoon.
Yeah.
But June, that's really smart. Like to your point, small wins are part of the momentum menu. Okay, so feeling accomplished, feeling like I can check off my first 3 things, and that's going to keep the momentum, and that's going to put me in a greater state of flow. That's important. And again, it comes back to self-awareness. You knowing that your list is so important, and if I do those first 3 things, I'm going to feel really great, would be different from me. I have a million to-do lists that I ignore continually. So it
Personal and business. I mean, think
Yes.
about all the things in your home, your own apartment or your own home that you want to get done, organized, clean, finish. I'm just saying there's so much.
But let me ask you, June, because
Yeah.
I loved when you said you write your daily list or your to-do list, whatever, in the evening hours, so then you can chill out, you can relax, you can
I'm
go to
not
sleep.
worrying
and
about,
you're not
did I
worrying.
forget that I need to do this tomorrow? It's
Right.
it's documented.
And I'm the reverse of that. I'll worry until I fall asleep at night, and the first thing in the morning hours also, I will sit there and write my daily whatever, and that kind of gets me focused into what I need to do for that day. So the contrast is interesting. So when you get up in the morning, how do you approach that list that you wrote the night before? And do you also think about something new that you want to add to that list?
Oh, I'm always adding to my list.
Right.
And remember, on our team, there are things that are more time sensitive.
Yeah.
There are things, there's that quadrant about important but urgent, important but not urgent, urgent but not important.
Exactly.
I wish I were more disciplined and just focused everything in one of those 4 quadrants. But there are things like this attorney must get blah, 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 or we must get this out the door today.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in terms of flow, I mean, one of the things I just thought of is, are we talking day-to-day or momentum day-to-day? Or are we talking about just a longer arc? How are we feeling in general? And how are we keeping our momentum going career-wise and personally-wise over time?
Well, I think you probably know a lot more about that than me, June, because 35 years you've been on this roller coaster, right? Mm-hmm. So I often say, how your success in the business largely depends on how you stomach the roller coaster.
Right.
I love that. So true.
You can be dumb as a doornail, and no, I'm kidding.
No, in certain markets, you can be dumb as a doornail and make money.
still make
If
money.
you know somebody who has a property, and we just had a bunch of agents come in from Fairfield, Connecticut to talk to us. They have 3 houses on the market. There were only 3.
In the whole county.
Yeah, so whoever has those 3 houses, they can be dumb as a doornail, and they're still going to close and make,
How do you prioritize your task list? Evening,
Okay.
morning, where do you do it?
So there's a concept, and I'm going to do my best to present this. There's a colleague of ours in Florida, and she talks about this often, and there's a lot to be said for it, and it's called swallow the frog. Have you heard of this before?
No.
All right.
No.
So if you know that you need to do something horrible, like eat a live frog, and you
will
know
probably put it off.
you know how disgusting it's going to be.
Right.
What she says is you do it first. You get it out of the way. You tackle it first thing in the morning, you get it done. And that way you have the rest of your day to take on everything else, as opposed to waiting and waiting and waiting. And all day, this frog eating thing is hanging over your head, and you can't stop thinking about it all day because it's so disgusting and it's so unpleasant and you don't want to do it. So
There you have it.
there is something to be said for maybe taking those easy wins and putting them off for later because you know they're going to be easy, and taking on that miserable task first thing in the day, and then it's done.
So that how you define your task, orientation in the daytime, morning, whatever. Put the tough one there, and then everything else should become easier.
Look, I think it's easy. In my opinion,
I
it's
do
a whole
that,
lot
by the way.
easier to do to take out those easy wins. I
I
think
never thought
that's
about the frog eating, but my
Yeah.
tough ones are always up top, and then everything else is a breeze for the rest of the day, I think.
I had like 2 or 3 projects hanging over my head for like 2 weeks. And one day I was in the office, and for whatever reason, they all just got done.
Yeah.
And it was such a great feeling. These were like long-term. One was like a mailer. Another was a off-market, blah, blah, blah. So I do think there's something to be said for the swallow the frog philosophy.
I love that. I love that.
Well, following along those lines, so we talked about optimal working hours. Molly in the morning, me in the morning. I mean,
And me at 2 a.m.
And you
People
at-
get
Oh,
emails
really?
or texts from me. And I always say to my clients, I say ahead of time, if you don't turn your phone off, please tell me now. But if you do, don't be surprised because I will be texting you at 2 a.m. and Emily on our team is up at 6 a.m. So we have 20. We really do provide 24/7 coverage,
and I'm of
literally.
and I'm of the thinking that if I don't stop either texting or emailing by say 9 p.m., then I know it's a hard thing to do sometimes, especially when you're really busy. But if you continue past 9 p.m., you're going to get 2 a.m. text, you're going to get 2 a.m. message, you're going to get all night long. I wake up in the morning because, of course, I go to sleep with my phone and I wake up with my phone. And I look in the morning and I think, oh, my God, 40 emails overnight? What are people thinking?
I'll tell you what they're thinking now.
Go to sleep already.
I'm one of those people. No.
I find that in terms of U.S. News and World Report and what I write, sometimes getting those articles out, it's like exacting a pound of flesh. It is, for starters, it's using a completely different part of my brain than dealing with clients and dealing with deals. And for me to shut all of that off and then turn on the writing side is not so easy.
No, it's not.
I often find that I will wait until the last minute to hand in the articles.
Often?
Every time. And I often will start writing them at 1 o'clock in the morning the day before they are due. And at a certain point, I go into flow and all of that procrastination just sort of disappears and I sit down and I write the whole thing and I edit as I go and I look up and I'm like, oh my God, this is actually done. And
it's good.
Yeah.
And it's real good. He's a really good writer. And, I agree with you because I write this show every week. And, in the beginning, it's 10-year running, the show. But in the beginning, I used to take days and days. And now, a lot like Stephen, I put it off until the last minute. And then I sit down on Thursday morning. That's my allocated time, morning, from 7 o'clock to 10 or 11, whatever. And probably that's what I allocate before I start my day. And it probably takes me an hour and a half now, after 10 years of writing the show, an hour and a half, because like you, I'll write it, I'll edit as I go along, I'll write it, and I'll say, no, that doesn't work. I'll take that out, put something else in, and it's done.
How
Oftentimes-
disciplined are you? In other words, do you turn your phone off? Do you put it somewhere else so that from 7 to 10, this is what I'm doing, no
writing,
interruptions?
When I'm writing, I put the phone over there. Because if, in this business, you're interrupted all day.
All the time.
So if it's only an hour and a half or even 2 hours to write a show, they could wait. It's not that important. And it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Who needs to talk to you at 7 o'clock in the morning, right?
No one's done.
I didn't have my coffee yet. It's like, okay, hello.
Yeah, but one other thing, though, let's be honest about who our clients are. It's a regular basis that I'll be on my way to dinner and get a call, and I have to take it. And that's the nature of the beast of working in this industry, because our
100%.
clients, during normal business hours, they're doing their job.
100%.
And when can they talk to us? When I'm walking into a restaurant for a 7 o'clock reservation.
Also,
Don't call me during the Super Bowl, Dad, because I'm not answering the phone during the Super Bowl.
But also, if you think about it, there are people, if you have a young child, if anybody has a young child, our clients, they have their day, they're working all day, then they have dinner, you give the kid a bath, whatever, and then they put their child to bed. Then they're able to talk. By that time, it's, 8:30, 9:30 at night, and okay, I happen to be available because I want to do business when business needs to be done. I'm not good at turning my phone off at 9 o'clock and saying, sorry, you can't reach me till tomorrow.
Well, I
can't
kind of peek
do
every
that.
once in a while and look to see what came.
But
yes,
I actually, if I need to negotiate, last night I needed to negotiate a deal, and I
different,
spoke
right.
them after they went to sleep, after they put their child to sleep, and okay, we had our offer and we're
There are
moving
times
ahead.
when you're negotiating or you're in the middle of something critical that, yes, of course, you've got to keep that flow going because, what I have found in this business is the momentum can die quickly.
Yes.
Especially if you're negotiating a deal, or that flow can end quickly. All right, we've got to take another quick break. We're coming back. We're going to talk about our natural rhythm and our work-life balance, which for a lot of people, that's difficult, but it's important. Don't go anywhere. Talking New York Real Estate. We're coming right back.
This podcast is supported by the More Network, powered by Brown Harris Stevens. Real estate touches every aspect of our lives, from design and architecture to investing and the economy. Now there's a way to get all your real estate information in one place. The More Network. With more than 20 podcast and webcast series, the Mastery of Real Estate Network is powered by Brown Harris Stevens, one of the country's most distinguished brokerages. Discover advice from notable entrepreneurs, compelling topics, and access to top global real estate experts. Subscribe to their YouTube and Apple podcast channels by visiting getmorenetwork.com.
Okay, here we go. We're back again. So, Molly, let me talk to you a little bit about, work-life balance. I mean, that's always on all of our minds, regardless of whether we're in real estate, in other industries, bankers and Wall Street workers, we work so intense. We work so long. We kind of sometimes get lost in our jobs. And even in real estate, as June said before, it's really difficult to turn that phone off at 9 o'clock at night like I try to do, and I peek every once in a while. But because we can work 24 hours a day. But we have to also keep in mind that we have lives.
Yes.
People are married, people have children, people have, other things that we need to do. How, do you explain to, people who talk to you about this stuff, why life and work balance is important? And how do you achieve that in our own personal life?
Well, I hate to break it to you, Vince, but I usually tell them it's not possible.
Thank you. Okay.
Like, if we start there, then we can have a more practical, pragmatic conversation. Yeah. But if I'm not going to bullshit people and tell them that they can achieve, as a New York real estate agent, a healthy work-life balance. Can we talk about your stress management? Can we talk about what brings you joy? Can we talk about your why? Why do you do this job? Can we talk about what you hate to do? Can we get that operations role fitted so that you have a little bit more time? Do you want to grow a team so that you have people to cover you and have a better lifestyle? It's really about leveraging and optimizing for quality of life, but not trying to achieve this idea of balance, because I don't believe it exists.
What do you think about that?
Are we talking about balance or work-life balance or
work-life
finding
balance.
joy or what?
All of it.
I think that a lot of us go into this business because we like dealing with people. And you'll hear a lot of agents talk about how their clients have become their friends. And look, when your friends become your clients, that's a different topic. But a lot of the time, your clients do become your friends.
Yeah.
And if you really enjoy the people that you're working with, then you're not necessarily looking for that work-life balance because your work is actually enjoyable. I've often said that I kind of, I can sell anything that I believe in, kind of. And I can always find something great about every single property that we are representing. And it's not hard for me to walk into a space, find what I love about it, and learn how to sell that. Learn how to sell the space based on all of the wonderful things that space has, whether it's light or views or location or whatever. I also think, and this may sound weird, but there's some truth to it. I kind of platonically fall in love with all of our buyers a little bit as we're in the trenches together. And then after we close, it's kind of like this, I don't want to say it's like a postpartum depression, but it's like you're on the
Withdrawal.
Withdrawal, sure.
Withdrawal's a good
But it's
word.
yeah, exactly, withdrawal.
But it's so true, though.
We spend so much time with a buyer in these incredibly intense and often intimate moments, this experience of finding a home. And real estate agents will talk about how they have to wear the hat of a therapist or psychologist, which is totally true. And you have these windows into people's relationships, whether it's with their spouse or with their parents or whatever. And it's really intimate, and it's really nice that they let you in, and then they close, and it's over. I actually spoke to a client the other day, and I said, I miss you. I mean, we closed on something a couple weeks ago, and suddenly we're not talking every day.
It's very true.
So-
because you feel like you're missing out on something, even though they've settled, they're happy, whatever. You feel like, wow, okay. So where'd you go?
Yeah, and I think it is the nature of the beast. But in terms of work-life balance, I don't think there's something. I think there's something kind of almost healthy about that. If you do find something to love about every property that you're selling, and finding something to love about every buyer that you're working with, I think that does help the idea of having a work-life balance because it doesn't feel unbalanced to be dealing with something that
So would you
you're
call
enjoying.
it a natural rhythm that we go through as real estate agents versus, because I sometimes agree with what Molly said before, it's really kind of hard to find that real work and life balance. You could be happy at work, you could be happy in life, but sometimes they don't really mesh smoothly, right? But it's a natural rhythm, I think, that we get involved in or that we get comfortable with, right? Or we get very used to.
I feel I have 2 or 3 thoughts on this subject, if
Go
I
right
may.
ahead.
One is that I do feel as though our work actually keeps us within the guardrails. When things in our personal life, I had a death in my family. Had 2 deaths in my family within 10 months. So it was, most people say, how are you dealing with it? You know what? Doing what I do work-wise was a tremendous source of stability.
Yeah.
It was a stabilizing factor. It kept me centered. It kept me grounded because in our work, we kind of know the beginning, the middle, and the end. We know what's going to happen and we know how to do it. So to me, actually, my work life is a very balancing force for my personal life for the rest of my life. So I don't know, maybe that's a different
And you're dealing with
perspective.
an intimate relationship and life and death and divorce and all of
Well, the 5 Ds, right?
5 Ds,
Do you wanna-
exactly.
should we say what they are? I you know what? I always heard there were 4, and I found out there's a 5th. All right. So debt, divorce, death, diapers. Those are the traditional 4. But the 5th one is diamonds. You're getting married.
Okay.
Okay,
There you
there you
go.
go.
There you go.
But I think
I just wanted to say
what you're saying is
sorry.
what you're saying is 100% correct, and I just wanted to expand upon that a little bit. Those of us who work in real estate, I mean, I like to think that it's so far different than any other industry, because I agree, our work can become, in most cases, our life, and we overcompensate, sometimes for other things that are happening that don't really make us happy, whatever, because we have that, fortunately, that work and that intense job to focus on and to work through whatever. And then when you get to the end of it, it's kind of like, wow, all right, I got through that.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think we know, I mean, maybe not everybody, but I think once you've been doing this for more than 5 minutes, you have a pretty good sense of how to get to the finish line. Do you always get to the finish line? No, because of the things beyond our control, co-op boards, lending institutions. I mean, there are a lot of reasons, but I think that for me anyway, I find it to be very grounding and very centering to do what we do. Because I think
agree.
it's so interesting because no 2 days are the same, but we kind of know what the path is. I wanted to just say one thing that I thought was very funny, which is our personal life versus our business life.
Do we have a personal life?
Well, so my husband and I laugh about the fact, and this is true with anybody's life partner, we laugh about the fact that we are the only industry where our partner is happy for us to call a former boyfriend or girlfriend, former whatever. What other industry is it? Are they okay with you reaching out to contact somebody who you actually had a relationship with years ago? So that
It might mean a trip to Switzerland, right?
okay. Sounds good.
That's okay. Whatever. Money, no matter what it is. All right, Molly, you talked before about, and we're going to talk about a little bit about being memorable. And listen, I say it on the show all the time, and I really do every morning, every evening before I go to sleep. I always think about, was I memorable today? And I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I mean that partly because of the industry that we're in. People have to remember us. People have to know who we are, what we do. And when they have a real estate need, they should be thinking about Vince or Stephen or June, because that is what we do. So you've got to figure out a way to be memorable. But you said something before that I really like, celebrating small wins. Because I think sometimes we forget that the small things are just as important as the bigger things.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
It's how you want to feel, right? And it's actually, there's neuroscience behind it. If you are validating how you want to feel with smaller wins, then that carries momentum with it, right? So, I use the example, if you have difficulty making sales calls, right? Most people do. Even if they're contacting their raving fans, their sphere of
You
influence.
mean picking up the phone and calling?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I think
Nobody
that's-
answers their phone
that's very
anymore
difficult.
anyway, so it's kind of almost
Right.
like, what's the
Right.
point? But
Right.
But how about, you have a few warm-up calls. Call your mother, call your best friend, call the buyer that you just worked with and closed a week ago just to check in on them. Like low-hanging fruit, it's easy. I'm creating rapport, I'm creating momentum, and then I can make the colder, more difficult calls.
good idea.
I agree with that. How do you celebrate small wins? Do you celebrate small wins?
I was actually just thinking about the most rewarding moments in our business, and it's sort of weird how sometimes after you close something, it's kind of anticlimactic, even though it's nice to get a commission, of course, and get paid. However, for me, I feel like when you get that contract signed, that is such a win. When you get board approval, that is such a win.
Bigger win.
And in this day and age, sometimes getting through a walkthrough cleanly can be a win.
He's snooping into my diligence class. Okay, there you go. That is so true. Very true.
But even how about having a good conversation, right?
Yeah.
How about getting someone on the phone, June, right? Like you call someone, they actually answer your phone.
I don't even bother
And
to
you
call
have
somewhere because
you have a great human connection.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge win.
June, let me ask you though, do you set goals weekly, daily, monthly? Like, when I'm teaching, I tell, agents all the time, at the start of every year, and this comes from my sales career back to my IBM days, where we had to have a plan for our manager in January. What is our quota going to be? He gave us a quota. We had to tell him how we were going to get to that quota. So we had a whole marketing and selling plan. I sort of do that every January in real estate. But then I realized, because of what we talked about throughout this show, how complicated things can be, I find myself like resetting my goals weekly. Sometimes I hit them, sometimes I don't. And if I don't, they just go into the next week's goal. Do you do it weekly? Some people I know do it daily?
So we do both. We have our team has a weekly meeting where we basically run through all of our properties, all of our buyers, and figure out, okay, what do we need to get done this week? We assign it who's going to be the point person. And then the next week we say, okay, how did we do versus what we said we set out to do? I mean, things happen during the week. The ball gets moved ahead. And that's the most important thing from a business perspective. Do I have a project list every day? Yes. That includes not only business, but other stuff like go to CVS and get your blah, 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 all that stuff. Do I get through all of it every day? Absolutely not. But at least I kind of know what it is I want to get done. And I just move it to the next day and sort of cross off the stuff that I did get done.
Well, how do you feel about setting goals? I mean, when you talk to people who are seeking your advice, are goals important? Are they, again, weekly, daily, monthly, annually? What in your mind is the right way to approach goal setting, especially for agents in this business?
What I do with new coaching clients is I ask a million questions. We spend about an hour on the phone so I can understand where their business is and where they want it to go. And then what I do is I put together a strategic plan for them. And usually what it is it's 4 or 5 things that I see they're not doing where they're leaving money on the table. So it's identifying the gaps. And the way I describe it is it's like a choose your own adventure. Okay. So you're not into social media? Great. We don't have to go down that path. You don't want to spend money on digital marketing? Okay. We don't have to go down that path. And the reason I do that is I say it's like a skeletal plan that we can pivot and adapt as we go. Because I think if you are too rigid in your goal setting, you can get really thrown off, especially with the pace of this business, with the industry changes, with everything that's happening. I mean, even, month to month, week to week, like I think it is important to have those weekly goals and check in after the week is done. What did we accomplish? What did we not accomplish? How might the goals change?
Stephen.
Yes.
So we've got a few minutes left. I'm going to ask all of us. Being memorable, as I said before, I believe works to our advantage in the real estate business. So what is your why as Molly indicated before? And how do you believe you are memorable or can be memorable as it relates to our business?
I'm not really sure
Or in
how
general,
to answer
or in
that
general.
question. I would like to think that that I am a likable and smart person, and that makes me memorable. I'm sure plenty of people don't
And
like me and don't
persistent.
think I'm smart, but
And
I'd like to think
persistent.
that I am, and persistent.
You are.
I think that the constancy and consistency of this business can be challenging, and I don't know that you can do it at 100%, 365 days a year. I think we all do our best. One thing that I am trying to do more of in 2025 is maintain a routine. I think that given our phones and given the nature of the business, it can be very difficult to not develop a lot of habits that are typical of ADHD. So I think having a routine can be really, really important. I'm trying to go to the office more this year. I'm trying to just be more consistent and have a routine, which I think I let go a little bit last year. I'd like to go to the gym in the morning instead of in the afternoon, because obviously if you wait till the afternoon, there's a bigger chance it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
In terms of being memorable, I think that getting smart about a lot of different things is a great way to be memorable. Not only being smart about our industry, but also becoming an amateur appreciator of a lot of other aspects of life that are maybe important to our clients. For example, the concept of luxury really is different for everyone. And if you're going to be dealing in the world of high net worth individuals, what is their definition of luxury? Is it real estate? Is it art? Is it wine? Is it jazz? Is it cars? What is it? And if you can you can sort of have a surface level understanding or knowledge of any of those things, you can certainly engage in conversations and hopefully be more than just a real estate agent to someone.
June, I met you many years ago in a deal, and to me, you're memorable.
Aw.
So you're doing something
Thank
right, but
you.
explain to us, though, really how you do that
So
or why it's important to you.
once again, my perspective is a little bit different because I have a longer term perspective on career, life, and everything. It has become more important to be memorable. That being, social media, being on TikTok, being on this is now, I would say, in the last 10 years, become a very big part of agents' life, their persona, to curate yourself, which is why you see a lot of people in a very wonderful suit leaning against a Rolls Royce on their phone. Okay, is that memorable? I guess for that person, it's memorable.
For that moment, yeah.
I mean, for me, I don't care as much about that. I care about doing a really fabulous job for my clients,
Right.
servicing them 1,000%. That to me is what makes somebody a memorable real estate professional. So
Well said.
I would like to. I think I need to hire that social media manager so they can do all the content and all that stuff. I know how to get a deal from A to Z to get it to the finish line. I know how to negotiate. I know super negotiator. I know how to deal with attorneys. I over lawyer their contracts, but they know that it's for the best interests of our buyer or seller. So to me, memorable. I think I probably have a different thought process on that.
But I agree with you. Molly has the key to all of the solutions here.
Yes.
So be in touch. So tell me, in your mind, how do you stay memorable and why is it important?
I love this question so much. I didn't know this was
Surprise.
yeah. My whole coaching philosophy is based on the idea that you are one of one. You are a category of one. So your path to success is going to look very different than
the
anyone
next person,
else's.
right.
So there's no formula. There's really no right way for you to get where you want to go. And I use the word authenticity reluctantly because I feel like it's kind of an empty word these days. It's so buzzy. But if you are authentically you, I like to say I'm unapologetically Molly. And when I'm unapologetically Molly, I am always memorable because there's only one me.
And may I just
And
say,
that's my answer, okay?
one of the reasons why I think Molly is such a phenomenal coach is because she was a real estate agent for many years. As a result, she's been in the trenches, she's boots on the ground, so she knows from personal experience, I think, all of the ups and downs that real estate agents feel and encounter.
Thank
Okay,
you, June.
we are way out of time, but Molly and June and Stephen, wow, great show. Coming right back with my thoughts for the week right after this.
Hi, it's Stephen Bailey from Roadway Moving and Storage. Listening to Vince Rocco, you know the right partner makes all the difference. At Roadway, we deliver an experience your clients will love. For specialized services and white glove care, choose Roadway. Want to learn more? Email me at steven@roadwaymoving.com or visit roadwaymoving.com.
Okay, everybody, we are back with my thoughts for this week. So, ambition sets the fire in motion, sparking the desire to achieve something greater and pushing you to set bold goals. It's the initial fuel that ignites your passion, driving you to take action and pursue your dreams. However, it's focus that keeps that fire burning, providing the consistency and discipline needed to turn ambition into reality. Without focus, ambition can easily fizzle out. Staying dedicated to your vision, blocking out distractions, and honing in on what matters most ensures that your passion remains strong and unwavering. But what truly transforms this fire into something unforgettable is being different. When you embrace your unique approach, ideas, and perspectives, you not only stand out from the crowd, but you create something that people will remember. And I like being memorable. Being different allows you to turn the heat of your ambition into a lasting impact, leaving a legacy that inspires others long after the flames have died down. And that's our broadcast for today. Thanks to my guests for being here on set with me. You can follow me, as always, on Facebook, on Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn, Blue Sky Now, or TikTok at Vince Rocco. And Confucius always said, choose a job that you like and you will never have to work a day in your life. And the only person you should try to be better than is the person that you were yesterday. And from all of us here at Talking New York Real Estate and the More Network, to all of you all around the world, thanks for spending a part of your day with us. I am so grateful, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.